Long ago, when Exeter was a young city, and Exeter was a small city, it was surrounded by a wall. There was a north gate, a south gate, a west gate, and an east gate. And in Exeter there lived a rich man, and his name was Beorna. And Beorna owned a lot of land outside of the east gate. And there long grass grew. And he employed a mower. And the mower worked every day. And he cut the long grass with his scythe. Beorna had a daughter, and her name was Satyvola. And Satyvola was good and beautiful and kind and hard-working. Everybody loved Satyvola. But unfortunately, Satyvola's mother died, and Beorna married again. And his new wife hated Satyvola, because everybody loved her, and she was jealous. One day, she came out of the east gate, and she found the mower who was cutting the long grass with his scythe. And she stepped up to him, and she said, "Tomorrow, my daughter will bring you food. Here, take these gold coins. Tomorrow, when my daughter comes, kill her." Well, the mower was a poor man, and he looked at the gold coins, and he did not talk, but he took the gold coins and nodded. And Satyvola's stepmother went back inside the city, and the next day the sun was shining, and the gate opened, and out of it came the beautiful Satyvola, and she carried a bowl with bread and milk, and she walked towards the mower, who was cutting the long grass with his scythe. And she stepped up to him, and she gave him the bowl. But he took his scythe, and he looked at her, and how good she was, and how kind. But he remembered the gold, and he cut off her head. And her head fell onto the ground, and there was blood. And Satyvola dropped dead to the ground, and the mower looked at what he had done, and he ran, and he ran, and he ran, and he never returned. Well, that night, Satyvola did not come home. And in the dark night, the watchmen who looked from the east gate to protect the city, they saw a strange sight. The dark clouds of the night parted, and from heaven above there shone a bright light, a beam of light upon the grass. And they did not understand. The next night, again, the watchman saw a bright beam of light from the heavens upon the grass to the east of the city. The next day, they told all of the people. Everybody in Exeter came to the east gate, and they looked. Standing there were Beorna and his new wife. And in the middle of the night, the clouds parted, and a bright beam of light shone down. And as they watched, the girl, Satyvola, stood, and under one arm she carried her head, and in her other hand she carried the sharp scythe, and she walked towards the east gate. Closer and closer, and the people were amazed, and her stepmother shrank back in horror. But then she stopped, and outside the east gate she lay down in the long grass. In the morning, the people came out of the city, and when they got there they found her body upon the ground, but now her head was fixed upon her shoulders, and next to her was the sharp scythe. In that place they made a tomb where they could lay her to rest. But then later they found the place where the blood was on the ground, and in that place fresh water sprang forth. People looked at the water. Some people washed in the water. Some people drank the water. And the people who were sick became well. The people who could not see could see. The people who were lame and could not walk could walk. And they knew that this was a gift from God, a holy well. They went back, and where they had buried the girl, they made a church, tall and strong. And they called this church the Church of St Sidwell. This story was written down more than 1,000 years ago. This story was written down in Latin. Everything was written in Latin 1,000 years ago. The Latin name for the girl was Sativola, but the English name is Sidwell. And the church that was built was called St Sidwell's Church. And even today, if you walk along Sidwell Street, you can find St Sidwell's Church. St Sidwell, the patron saint of Exeter.